What's good, Osiris here, stuck in the middle, and there always comes a time when you might want to help someone that you have to take a step back and wonder, am I really helping you by giving you this, what you are asking for, or is there another way where I think I can help? And it's up for you to take it or leave it. You could look at it as someone who has suffered addiction, for example. Is it helpful to keep on sending them money, or might it not be helpful? Those are legitimate questions and legitimate decisions that have to be made from time to time. And when it comes to, let's just call it the sunflower country, they're having that issue overseas. There are people who represent the sunflower country who are on Twitter, and they're literally saying, we're grateful for the weapons that you've sent, these stingers and javelins, but we need a longer range weapon. Blue check on Twitter and everything. That it particularly is important for Mariupol. The U.S., we know that in the back, you got some UAV Reaper MQ-9s. We know it showed excellent work in these other countries. Now our country needs it more than ever. They're literally on Twitter begging for a $6 million drone like a crackhead on the corner. And this is one of those moments, one of those important moments where we might, because the money for that is really coming from us. We know that, right? We might have to say, in order for us to help you and your people, we have to cut you off from the money that's allowing you to be a crackhead. Snow, baking powder, you're doing too much of it. Figuratively. Why are you on Twitter asking for a $60 million drone? Then we set aside $3.5 billion. Spent for and sent quickly with a swiftness. The exact words in the legislation was quickly and directly. Then there was another 800 in addition to that. Then there was another 800 in addition to the 800 and in addition to the 3.5 billion. So we got the 3.5 billion plus the 1.6 billion. And then now this is where I've drawn the line. There's always a time where you're like, I've had enough. Ukrainian President VZ, so I just call him VZZ, VZZ, says his country needs $7 billion per month to account for economic losses. So what that tells me is your money is not going to where it needs to go. And you don't have the funds to back up the harsh talk that you have been giving out. So it might be time to look at the situation and your economy and say, I'm not going to spend money on this anymore. And I'm going to bend the knee. I'm going to work it out. If you don't have the funds, then you need to have worked something out with somebody else who does. And that didn't work out. That didn't happen. The sunflower country didn't work it out with us where we were going to back them fully. And now they're in a tough situation. And it's time for us to cut them off so they can actually acknowledge their situation and work through it, hopefully with the least amount of damage. But what you can do is get manipulated. VZZ warns that Russia's invasion will go beyond the sunflower country. And what this is when you try to help someone and then you say, I got to cut you off. What this is another reason for why you don't. No, I don't want you to cut me off. I need $7 billion per month. It's not like we're in debt or anything. It's not like we have an open southern border that could use some funds to close it up or anything. We can't be manipulated into this. And that the argument from those is always like, well, you can't hate. Me saying that we need to cut them off so that they will deal with the reality of the situation they're in is not hate. It's love. The Portuguese communists refused to attend VZZ's speech to Parliament. PCP will not participate in giving a platform to the escalation of the war. VEZ said, VEZ personifies a xenophobic and belligerent power surrounded and sustained by forces of a fascist and neo-Yahtzee nature. So there are some people who said, hey, President VZZ, he's Jewish. He wouldn't, obviously side with those type of people. Well, let's hear when he was asked about it. You with that same logic, you would say, well, the black slave traders in Africa would never trade black slaves. What? That happened. That was a thing. So let's just ask him about it and see what he says.
And this is these reports about the Azov battalion that is said to be Nazi-affiliated organization operating as a militia in your country, said to be committing their own atrocities. What should Americans know about that unit, about those reports?
So Azov was one of those many battalions. They are what they are. They were defending our country. And later I want to...
Come again, my nigga? What did you say?
They were defending our country. Azov was one of those many battalions. They are what they are.
Oh, they are what they are. So that settles it. Nothing to see here. Nothing to worry about. Your taxpayers' dollars going to weapons and funding stuff over there. They're going to guys who just are what they are. It's all good. So we go, you have a situation, you could have a situation where you out of the goodness of your heart, you want to help the person who is struggling. And you give them money and they're like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a car. I'm going to pay rent. I'm going to get back on my feet. And then you come back through. So you come back through to the crib and say, okay, just to see, I gave you some money. Hopefully everything's going well. I just want to check in on you. And you go into their crib and you see an Xbox and no job. They're just waiting for the next re-up from you. That's kind of like what this was. Thousands of people dead, all this emergency, and the V to the Z is doing a photo shoot that looks like it could have been the cover of GQ. And I'm looking at it like, you said the money that we're going, it could be going to these Yahtzees, but they are what they are. It's dire straits. You want to help your people, and you have time for a GQ cover shoot? Allegedly? Comparatively? I'm going to end with this. Every people have different cultures. Like Russia and the sunflower country and all these other countries, there is no right or wrong. But for people trying to sell their culture as our culture, that doesn't work for me. These people over there, they live a different way, a different life. I'm playing this just as a joke, but I'm serious about their culture ain't our culture. So it's not that I don't care. It's just that there's a lot of atrocities going on in the world. Are we dishing out money to all of them? Why are we just choosing this one? And even regardless of that, for this one, I think the best way we can help is to say, no more, no mas. Let me know what you think. Take care. It's not uncommon for Ukrainians, the same Ukraine that we were celebrating on 60 Minutes, and we want to send all this money to, all the black identitarians, all the black cabal in D.C. is like fully on board with. Forget about the Yahtzees and all that kind of stuff. Just from this standpoint, it's not uncommon for Ukrainians to refer to African Americans as N-word. Volunteers of color may be called a monkey or see children's game with blackface. this is the country you're supporting. This is the culture you support. You put a Ukrainian flag. A lot of y'all probably never even had an American flag in your bio before. You're probably triggered by it. Nothing like supporting a country that would look at you as N-word and a monkey. Y'all supporting some crazy stuff, man. Same